If you're tired of your 9 to 5, or you're looking for better alternatives to invest, or you're looking for a way to become financially free, stay tuned to my program where I teach people how to become financially free through multifamily real estate. What are the characteristics of a good budget? A budget needs to be reasonable. For example, a property manager brings a budget to you and is telling you that in that market, let's say the expense ratio is typically 50% of the income, and it brings a budget and says it's 80%. You know right there that there's something off. But if you have a good property manager, you will not have that issue. It must be realistic. I'm going to combine it with the next one, adequately aggressive. For the fact that it must be realistic, you must also create expectations. You don't also want to make your property manager lazy. So your budget, the market is currently at 1,200. There's nothing wrong with you saying, okay, yes, the market's at 1,200, but I want us to get to 1,250. That is being adequately aggressive and realistic at the same time. You're combining both. One, you're not making them lazy, you're making them to say, okay, I think we can do better. Or, yes, the expense ratio in this market is 50%. Yes, I want us to make it 49%, 1% lower than what the market is doing. You're putting them on their toes, you're making them perform better. Like recently, we called our property manager because we've been tracking with our budget. We call them because, if you have student housing, you know that June, July is a very sensitive period. It's a period where students go home and you still have expenses to pay regardless, whether they are in there or not, you still be paying some expenses. So the idea is, this is the goal. I don't want us to spend above this amount this period. So anything, you have to take off those things that are not important for my expenses. Things that are important are like taxes, insurance, and all that. But anything like landscaping, you might need to skip them. Instead of doing it every week, we might need to do them once a month. So these are the kind of expectations you should create for your property manager. It must be realistic, adequately aggressive, not over aggressive, and in-depth and detailed. So the budget must contain everything to the last bit. So for the fact that CapEx is on a case-by-case basis, because you really don't know what will come up. Tomorrow, maybe your chiller breaks down. You don't know what that is. You must budget for replacement over some period. So when we're doing our budget on this day, we budgeted to replace our HVAC, I think one every month, something like that. That was the budget we had on a yearly basis. So if we're replacing one, that means it's 12 a year. For the fact you're brand new does not mean brand new things do not break. So we still made the budget for those things that are not recurring expenses or called operating expenses. These are below the line expenses, but you need to budget adequately for them. It must be detailed to the last expenses, to your lender, how much you'll be paying your lender, your interest, anything. So what role does the asset manager play in the budget preparation? As an asset manager, like I say, you're supposed to compare and ensure that your pro forma aligns with the business plan. You're also supposed to approve it. So yes, they've created it, you have to approve it. You have to say, yes, I'm good, let's go. You are the director. You have those people as your partners, but you are the lead. You are the one that will say, yes, let's do this. Then you're also supposed to perform a fiscal yearly basis. So these are things an asset manager should do, the role that they can perform in the preparation of a budget. Not for them to prepare the budget, but ensure that the budget aligns with their pro forma. But we've had cases where we did our budget, we readjusted the budget twice in 1 year. And the reason was because we were very, very realistic on the property manager was over conservative. We started the deal and found out that we were performing way above the budget. So we had to readjust to give ourselves another target. So we gave ourselves a target of, let's say, 90%. We achieved 95%. So there was no more motivation. So we're seeing all our P&L was pass. So there was no motivation. So we had to readjust the budget again. That's reforecasting. We had to redirect it and created it to be, okay, now we did it at 90, now it's at 100. Our new budget is at 100. So let's push, So that's what we did, and that was why we did it twice that year. So this budget has the rental income, it has everything. It's broken down on a monthly basis. So we have this month, this month, this month. So we're seeing what's our expectation each month in terms of income. We're also seeing what our vacancy projection should look like, our loss to lease should look like. So our other income, we are like, okay, this is the budget for our other income. This is the standard in the market. We feel this is what we can do. So this is the budget for other income. Then the last one is the second to the last is the expenses. So this is the budget for advertisement. You can see here, this is the budget for advertisement and all that. This is the amount we're going to spend each month. So in this case, when somebody comes up and says, let's spend 5,000, the payment for apartment.com is 5,000, you're like, where is it on the budget? We don't have that provision for it. So right there, it just helps you control your expenses. Except if it's an emergency, yeah, you can include that and do it. But if it's not an emergency, then you have to just walk past it, because if you decide to bump this by 5,000, this will change to about 20,000. So the budget helps you just stay in line with what's the expectation. Then, so if you see yellow lines beside some of the items. So the property manager brought this to us. So we had to start contesting them. No, this is too high. Take this off. And they're like, no, if you take this off, it will affect this. Or yes, okay, let's take it off. It's not necessary and all that. So there were some yellow items. This was when we're trying to now approve it. So we went through this stage like 3 times before we finally approved the budget. So it's a very active process and all that. So these are all recurring expenses. You have a budget for it. So if you see here, you see on top, you see annualized, you see pro forma owner. So what we're doing here is that we're comparing our underwriting. This line here is our underwriting. And this line here is the property manager's own. So the way you see the annualized, look up. If you look up here, annualized, this line here down is for the property manager and the pro forma is ours. So we're comparing, okay, so they said that their turnover will be 64, ours was 65, very close. Management fee 73,690, ours was 74. So we're already comparing it and we're pretty very close with our number. So their taxes and insurance 221, ours was 230. Very close. So these are things you really want to do to ensure that your budget aligns with your pro forma, because if it does not align with your pro forma, then your returns is already, whatever it is you promise your investors, I bet you will not achieve it.